we're going to make a wonderful little fried corn tortilla that's going to have some jalapeno, give it a little bit of a kick, and we're going to make a bean dip. And also, this comes from One Part Plant by Jessica Murnane, and this is also very simple, very easy, and it's something that you can easily do to get together. For this, what I'm using is 1 cup of corn masa flour. Now you can use cornmeal, that's fine. This is going to be our base, and I'm going to throw my 1 cup of flour right into my mixing bowl right here. And I'm adding a ½ teaspoon of salt. So I've already got that ready. I've got it measured. I'm just going to throw it in there too. Remember that any pre-measuring you can do really helps in the kitchen, because then when you're grabbing things and you're getting things ready, you're not scrambling to find ingredients, which happens to me all the time, more so than you would think. And I'm just going to whisk the salt and the cornmeal together. So that is, just to kind of blend. I'm using a fork. You can use a whisk. You just kind of want to get those brought together. And I am going to add, I have 3/4 of a cup of warm water. You don't want it scalding, but nice warm water. I am going to kind of slowly kind of pour that in just a little bit, get it a little bit wet. I'm going to mix it just a little bit to get ready. And then I'll just kind of keep adding. You want to check the consistency of your dough. You don't want it to be super wet, but if you feel like you need a little more water from time to time, feel free. You just kind of want to get this nice, mixed together, because we are just basically making a cornmeal and water dough. And so I'm just going to incorporate the rest of my water there, and I am going to stir that right in. I'm going to add a little bit more. I am going to add about a cup of corn kernels. This is a great time for corn. I'm using canned corn kernels, but you can easily go to a farmer's market and you can get a great time for fresh corn. And I'm going to throw that right in there. And I'm going to stir my corn kernels right into my dough. And then what I want to do is I want to add a little kick. So what I'm going to use is a jalapeno. Now it depends on what kind of kick you want. You can throw in a habanero, you can throw in a ghost pepper. Not sure if your guests would like a ghost pepper, but you can try it. If you feel like you're ready to set people on fire at the table, be my guest. I usually like to start probably with a ½ a jalapeno. Sometimes with jalapenos, they can be really, really hot. Some of them are a little more mild. You don't really know what you're getting. And I usually kind of like to take the seeds out. The seeds, of course, are the thing that carry the spice, so you might want to keep the seeds in. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dice this as finely as I can, because I want this to incorporate into the dough. So with this, I'm actually going to try to cut really thin slivers, and then I'm just going to kind of dice these into a really as small pieces as I can. You want it to kind of move through the dough, because if you're making more, you're going to be making a few of these tostadas, and so you want the jalapenos to kind of incorporate evenly. And so when I get these cut as small as I like them, and this looks pretty good, a nice small chop, I just kind of slide them onto the edge of my knife, and I'm just gonna dump them right in there. And like I said before, heat is everything for you and your guests. We are going to be adding hot sauce, and you can add hot salsa to this later. So if you're worried about guests who don't like a lot of spice, you can easily keep out the jalapenos, and you can add hot sauce on the table and let people add the spice as they like. And I am just going to stir. I'm going to incorporate this right into my dough. And then what we are going to do is we are going to let the dough sit for about 10 minutes, and then we will get back to it. So we're going to work on our bean dip next. And now on to the bean dip. Now, if you don't want to make your own bean dip, you could go to the store and buy a can of refried beans and nobody would notice. But honestly, this bean dip is fresh and easy, and so simple to make that you're just going to want to make this at home. And a lot of these things I keep in my pantry all the time, so I can easily make this at the last minute. I am using 1 can of black beans. I have rinsed and drained them, and I'm going to throw them into a bowl. Now, what I really love about this recipe is the recipe said to put everything into a food processor. I recommend a potato masher because if you have any stress and you need to get it out, mashing something in the kitchen is surprisingly one of my favorite things to do. It also kind of makes makes it a little more fun, at least to me. I am going to use a lime. I am going to cut my lime, and I am going to add my lime juice. So basically, I'm just going to squeeze my lime. Get all of that nice juice in there. This is going to give it a nice citrusy taste that you want. It's also going to add a little bit of liquid to the beans, which is going to make them a little easier to mash. And I'm going to use my entire lime for this so I can little bit of a hand strength there too to squeeze your limes. But you want to get the nice juicy lime. If you could smell what I'm smelling right now, you'd be jealous. Throw those over there. Again, I'm just adding a pinch of my salt using a little bit of a salt grinder. And this is simple. This is all you would need. I like a little bit of spice, so I'm using Guajillo chili powder, and you can use as much or as little chili powder as you want. Smoked paprika would work well in here. You could use a little cumin, you could use a little coriander, so depending on how you like to season. And then I'm just going to use my masher, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get right in there, and I'm just going to mash everything together. And you know, beans have that kind of consistency that they are just going to make a really nice, they're going to be a nice dip. It's going to be a nice hearty spread. And you can mash as much or as little as you want. If you want it a more consistency with some whole bean pieces in there, you can mash it a little bit less, and that'll make it a little more, you know, beany looking, or you can do what I did. And as you can see, I've kind of mashed it through, and it's real simple. It's ready to go. I can just scoop this on to my tortilla. And now I guess we're ready to fry our tortillas and see how that goes. And so now we are going to use the dough that we made earlier, and we are going to make our little tortilla cakes, our little corn cakes. And they're going to be the perfect small plate that our bean dip is going to sit on and is going to add to our lunch. I have added a little bit of cooking spray to wax paper. I'm going to set that in there. I'm going to press it a little bit down. I'm going to use the wax paper to press it a little further down, and you can make these as big or as small as you want, depending on what size you want them. And don't press down too hard. You don't want it to stick. But now I'm just going to throw this on my griddle. You can also use a frying pan. That is easy too. I am just personally using a griddle right here, and I've got them right on the griddle. And so what I want to do is I just want these to cook through. I want to give them about 3 minutes on each side. I don't want them to burn, but I also want them to be kind of nice and brown. They want to have a little more of a golden color, and we'll see that when they're done. They have a nice kick to them, but it's not overwhelming with the jalapeno, and it's going to be a really nice base for the bean dip that has that wonderful lime in it. And you'll see as we put this together, and then we're going to add garnishes to it, it's going to look really lovely when it's done. We're going to give them a little bit of a flip, and we're going to see what our coloring looks like on the other side. Yeah, see, it's already starting to get this nice golden color. So I'm just kind of flipping it over, and I can use my spatula just to kind of press them down a little bit. And what this is going to do is it's going to make them just a little bit thinner. It's going to make the heat cook through them just a little more evenly. They're going to be a little flatter. And again, this is as thick or as flat as you want them. Just make sure if they're a little thicker, you're going to want to cook them on the griddle a little bit longer because they're going to need a little more time to get the consistency that you want. But if you press down a little bit, they're looking pretty good. I like this shade of gold that we're getting. Now we are at the final portion, the assembling our meal. And this is part that is really fun for me and should be fun for you too. When you're adding garnishes to the top, you can follow a recipe, but a lot of these are using your own taste and your own flavor and your own eye for color. For example, I pulled together some things that I love that I think will work perfectly with the dishes. I have some smoked paprika. I have some cheese. I've got some chopped grape tomatoes, cilantro, scallions, and of course avocado. And I am adding some habanero sauce, and I'm going to only add it to one, the one that I will probably eat, because again, habanero sauce can be a little spicy. So as you see, I've got this wonderful chilled soup ready to go. The last thing I'm going to do is just sprinkle a little bit of our smoked paprika there to give it a little bit of color. And of course, just a little sprinkling of cilantro. And then that is ready to go, ready to serve. I can add that right to the plate. Now I'm going to put the tortillas together. I'm just going to add a little scoop of bean dip to each one. Right in the center, but if it, so right there. And then here is where I can get a little creative. For this one, I might add a little sprinkling of cheese. I might throw in a few of my chopped tomatoes. I might throw on, you know, a nice little piece of avocado to give it a little bit of green. Maybe a little spring onion there. For this one, I'm just going to throw on a little more avocado, a little of my cilantro, and add a little of my my hot sauce to the top of that one. And so like I said, they both look a little bit different. They're going to have a little bit slight different flavor based on my toppings. But now, throw in my soup, and here you are. A wonderful, easy summer lunch, guaranteed to please everyone. If you like this, come into Baltimore County Public Library, check out these cookbooks, and find another great number of cookbooks that we've got on the shelves. There's a world of cooking out there. It's easy, it's fun, and it brings people together. And what more could we ask for?